Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Exoria. So since last episode, I've actually been working on the next recording. It should be the next Exoria episode after this one. And it's a building episode, I don't know, maybe a third of the way through right now, something like that. And I've been working on this bridge. This thing has been a massive undertaking. I'm going to briefly show it to you, but like I said, the next episode is going to be working on this bridge. So, I actually just finished a cut from the next episode. So if we head down through here, and by the way, the jetpack has proven extremely handy. It doesn't use up power nearly as quickly, it doesn't feel like, as simply Jetpacks 1 does. They're a lot more power efficient. But I've been mainly working on this main walkway. I haven't done the steps on this side, but I have done the base layer. I just haven't put all the steps in, because I'm trying to make it match the other side nicely. But over here, I've actually been working on the underbelly of this, and this is actually where I was just showing off. Oh no! I don't want to go down there, actually. That's the worst thing. You do get knocked off. There is going to be railings down through here, but they're not in yet. So, I've been working on this, and man, what is with all the mobs all of a sudden? Okay, there we go. There we go. I've been working on the underbelly of this, so we kind of have like a little bit of a walkway. It's a little bit thicker on the other side. This might have been a little bit easier of a jaunt to make with the jetpack. Normally when I'm down here, I'm wearing the jetpack, but I was switching over to armor because we're actually about to start work in this episode. But anyways, I have switched over my original plans from using all the steel scaffolding, and instead we're going with a bit more factory blocks, a little bit cheaper, and I think it actually looks better because you can't do wedges and stuff with scaffolding. You can't use chisels and bits or architecture craft with scaffolding. So I decided to use a lot more factory blocks, and then down here there's going to be like basically like an engineer's walkway for maintenance and repairs of the bridge, and I'm going to do, railings down through here, so you can walk through, and maybe if the bridge is damaged or something, they could work on it from down here or whatever. And anyways, we'll go into that stuff a bit more in detail in the next episode. But I have cut costs a lot. It's still expensive because the bridge is like around 250 blocks long. I measured it with a tape measure. It's a pretty massive bridge. And these supports, of course, they still have to go down as well as up, because they're actually going to get thicker as they go down. They're going to get more narrow as they go up. And then I've got to do supports running down the sides of this. And the center section, it doesn't have Smelting Stone down yet. That's because the center section, this is the very center of the bridge, it's going to be a little bit different. So you can see I marked it here with basalt, because I actually kind of worked on both sides and brought them in to meet here at the middle, and then I kind of segmented off the middle. That's what I've been working on thus far. So I'm going to go ahead actually and throw on the jetpack just so we can pop down there real quick. Supports that span across it, and they line up with where the little support pillars are right there, and they kind of come across. And then that's actually the same spots that come up, well, for the pillars. For the periodic pillars, they are... I hate these drone air battles, by the way. There we go. They come through, it's like every 5, I believe was my number. Let me see. I think it was every 5. 1, 2... Or no, every 3 support sections, and then I'll have a pillar. It is a little bit different towards the middle, of course, but the middle section's a little bit closer, but it's just because these support sections are a lot smaller. So, but there's still, you can see there's still 3 there, but it is a little bit smaller there, but that's fine. So, because like I said, that's the very center of the bridge. But anyways, like I said, we're going to cover that a bit more in the next episode. Today, though, we are going to be working on fluid building or fluid storage. I decided that originally I was debating between, do I want like an interior for the fluid storage like building, or do I want to do exterior tanks, that are more just like storage tanks. They're not part of like a centralized building. And I was actually doing some thinking, and I remembered from a while back I saw a picture, because I often look at like architecture pictures and stuff like that, like not necessarily like old architecture, you know, just different architecture, right? And I remember there was a tank that I saw, and this is, by the way, this is one of those weird chunk loading, or chunk boundary bugs or whatever. So I've got like a random, I don't know what kind of biome, jungle hills that are just running through the middle of this desert, but I'll probably end up pulling it all down and putting in sand or something. Just so it's not like a big chunk of like random jungle sticking through here. There's a lot of that. You'll notice over here, there's a bunch of it in this desert for some reason. So anyways, but there was a tank that I'd looked at a while back, and it's actually used by NASA. It's a liquid hydrogen tank that I had seen. I actually quite like the design, and so we're going to be doing something similar to that design. Not exactly the same, but something along those lines where it's more like a rounded, it's like a spherical tank, and I actually quite like it. And it's going to work perfect with our modular tanks that we're going to be using. It's going to work perfect, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have like an access panel at the bottom. So we're going to be going with kind of like a spherical tank. And to actually help us with that, there's one thing that I want to craft up real quick. And that is, if we pop right down here, I want to make a building guide. This right here, the enhanced building guide. We do have to upgrade it from the standard building guide. It's just some glass and a torch. So let's go ahead and whip one of these things up. And they're probably one of the best things that you'll ever craft. For building simple structures. You know, I use them in a lot of my series. I've used them very, very extensively in the past. And a lot of my structures, you know, I can't necessarily use like a building guide to make like cylinders or spheres or something like that. But in the case of, and hey, I got redstone from a drone. Just so happens. There's our building guide, and then we'll upgrade it to the enhanced building guide. And then we're also going to need a redstone signal for this. I'm just going to go with a lever, and I've actually got some upstairs instead of bothering to craft them. But this thing is just really nice. If you're building just a simple structure that is, you know, a circle or a sphere or, you know, cylinder or a pentagon, a hexagon, an octagon, you know, different shapes like that, it's perfect. It is absolutely perfect for that. And I'm actually going to need a building block. I'm just going to use the factory blocks that I've got on me. That'll be perfectly fine. So we're going to come out into the desert a little ways. We're going to have quite a bit of these big spherical tanks, you know, for different liquids that we're going to be storing in mass. Right now it's going to be lava, it's going to be acid, it's probably going to be honey, and then also fuel source based liquids, and then we'll just kind of see how things go from there. But for right now, we're going to start with one of these because they're going to be a decent undertaking, and they're all going to be pretty much the same. I am planning on putting like a label on them, probably with chisels and bits, once they're done, you know, and label each of them on probably all four sides with what kind of liquid they actually hold. Let's try right up here, and I know this is a little bit more like on-screen building, but I want to show you the enhanced building guide. Alright, and I'm going to build out just a little platform setting like right down here. Just so that we can actually work from here. Because we're going to have to see exactly the size and stuff that we want. Okay, so like I said, this thing does require a redstone signal. We're just going to put down our lever and activate it. And you can see we have a building guide. And you can toggle through this. This little button right here, you can switch between cylinders, cuboids, you know, all this different stuff. There at the bottom left, it tells you what we're making. I'm going to go with spheres. This right here, you can actually rotate the builder so that it faces different directions. It's useful for certain shapes. It's not really useful for a sphere. And then right over here, we can adjust the sizes with all these, you know, plus and minus and everything. So we're going to bump this up to, let's try like a 14 by 14 by 14. We want to make sure all of our sides are the same. It tells you the diameters there at the bottom left in the chat, which is quite handy. But let's try that. That's 14 by 14 by 14 in every direction. And that is a decent size sphere. That's actually about the size that I'm thinking. It's something like that. It's decently big, of course. I'm thinking that is actually probably just about perfect. There is one thing I want to do, and I want to drop it down a little bit. I feel like it's a little bit higher than what I want. So what we can do is we can actually just pull this up, And the nice thing is I can keep this building guide, and this can forever be our sphere tank building guide. I can actually name it an anvil if I wanted to, but I'm probably not going to. But because you can actually look right here and you can see it's a sphere, there's the dimensions, and it's already in place for us. So let's go ahead and put that back down, and we can just put our lever on top as well. That right there is perfect. That is actually what I want, because I kind of want it touching the ground, but not actually going into the ground, and that is what I want. Okay. So let me pop up here, and okay, let's pop over here. Let's see. That's where it'll be setting, which I think is good. Now, one thing I'm curious about, the factory blocks. Originally, I was planning on a different design for this. Do I want to use factory blocks for this or not? Not 100% sure. I don't really see any blocks that really stand out to me. You know, I'm actually thinking about going with like a Tyrian, in fact. So let me pop over to the storage center. I think that's what I want to go with. Yeah, we're going to go with a Tyrian for this, in fact. So let me get some Tyrian together. Yeah, I think so. I think that's what I want. We'll see. But let me go ahead and actually craft up a few more stacks of this real quick. I'm actually starting to get low on stone. I made up a bit more, but still starting to get low on it. But luckily Tyrian crafts a half stack at a time, so if we just do that, there's 4 stacks. That should be good for a second. Alright, now let's pop back over here. And this should be a big enough interior that we can have a fairly expansive tank. You know, I mean, that's a lot of blocks, interior space. I feel like that actually might be a little bit large. That might be a little bit bigger than what I need. Maybe I'm going too big at this point. So let me actually drop the size of this slightly, because I don't think I need actually that big. I'm actually thinking maybe a 9 by 9 by 9 on the radius might be better. Perhaps. And then I just got to bring this down, you know, a few blocks. Okay, so maybe that instead. I think that's a little bit more reasonable. I think 14 by 14 was just a little bit larger than what I actually needed. So this should be good. And I think it'll look good from the outside as well. I mean, that's a decent sized tank. Without just building like, you know, I don't want to build a box for a tank. I'm very, very tired of building boxes for tanks. That tends to be like the go-to tank is a box. You know, I think a lot of that's because of Railcraft. I think Railcraft, I'm going to blame Railcraft for making me build box tanks because it just became a habit, you know. But then what we can do is we can take our blocks and we can just hold right click and it's actually going to just build them out. You can see the number in my hand is actually steadily going down. It's actually going to just automatically build out the tank. And right now I just want shiny plates covering the entire tank. So I'll say that. It is quite handy. It does feel like you eat through resources like crazy fast, like blocks crazy fast, because it does automatically do all this while you just kind of stand here and hold the button down. But okay, our sphere is built. That's done. Bad news is I'm just about out of smooth stone. I'm smelting up like 4 more stacks, but I'm also just about out of cobblestone. Which of course we could get more with the cobblestone generator, but I think I'm going to, towards the end of the episode, we're going to do something a little bit differently. Or a little bit different. Let's actually tear this open just slightly. Yeah, it should be enough. Whoops. Nope. I think I've got, yeah, my step assist will let me in here. Let me actually do it so it's on the front side here, because we're going to want to be able to get inside of this. And so this will be, yeah, in this direction, this will be like the front of what we're going to have here. So, because there's going to be a little section that kind of comes off the front there, and I've got to do supports around it, and we might get into those this episode. We'll see, like supports basically coming off the side of it and coming down. But for right now, we've got ourselves our sphere made, and the next thing that I want to do is I want to start actually getting the tanks up and going. So let's warp back over to the storage center, and what we're going to be doing, you can either, ideally, I think the best 2 multi-block tanks within this pack that are at least available now. We have the open blocks tanks, which are pretty nice, The only thing is, the only issue in my experience with those is they do display the liquid, and we will be using some for decor with the spheres, which we'll get into that later. But the only problem is it shows the liquid and it can cause lag, in my experience, visual lag. But there is also a wonderful, wonderful mod in the pack, pressure pipes. And this mod does add its own multi-block tank. It is completely modular. You can build it in whatever shape you desire. That's why we can build a sphere and fill it full of stuff. And it'll be perfect. You know, it'll be just fine. And so that's what we're going to go with, is the pressure pipes multi-block tank. And this is going to be for our dense storage. Now we will have some liquids, you know, that aren't stored in these super tanks, ones that we don't need as much of or we're not producing as much of. Some of these liquids that we're going to be storing in here, we're going to have these super big tanks just because we can, more than anything. So just a heads up. But let me grab, that might be a little bit overkill, we'll see. We're going to need a bunch of iron though. And then we're also going to get a bit of beeswax. And beeswax we can turn into pipe sealant. If you recall, we had to make some of this before using grass, but now we can just use pipe sealant, so we're going to make some of that. And then we're also going to need a bit of glass as well. So we'll grab, well, 2 stacks. Yeah, that's fine, whatever. This is the main things that we're going to be needing, is a lot of pipe sealant, a lot of glass, a lot of iron. And then we're also going to need to make a tank controller. This is a little bit of redstone and diamond. So let me go ahead and get that. We only need 1 tank controller. This is basically to form the multi-block. We're going to need 1 of these per multi-block. And the first thing that we're going to want to make is these tank walls right here. These require pipe sealant and a bunch of iron. Let's go ahead and get ourselves, I mean, they're fairly cheap. We'll go ahead and make like 4, 5, 6 stacks. Yeah, we'll do 6 stacks for right now. It should be good. And then our tank controller, there we go, there's that. I don't know if there's any quests relating to this at all. It's possible there might be at some point, maybe, I don't know, but that's fine, because I'm going to be setting a bunch of these tanks, so that's no problem. But if you hover over the tank controller, you can see that it can accept up to 5 data ports, 1 fluid filter, 200 tank blocks, 5 fluid access, you know, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and make some of these components. The first thing that I want to make is the fluid filter. Just because one of these, they're handy to have. They are going to require some iron bars. I actually might have some of those. I only need 4 of them. Yes, we do have some of those. So let's go ahead and make our fluid filter. There's that. I've actually got some glass panes in here. I'm going to go ahead and grab those. And then we're also going to want, let's see, the tank controller. You have data port. That's for like redstone control. Tank blocks. Okay, you can have up to 200 tank blocks. That is tank blocks and tank indicator blocks. They're interchangeable. Each one can store 32 buckets. So 32,000 millibuckets of liquid per block. And that includes both of these. The indicator is nice because it'll show basically how filled the tank is, and it can be, you know, it can be a modular design, you know, you can do it however. But if you stack them one on top of each other, it'll show you basically how filled the tank is while still acting as a tank block. You also have fluid access, which is self-explanatory, sensor modules, which is also for redstone, fluid outlet, fluid intake, and tank interface. So let's go ahead and pop over there. And we're going to start setting up a tank, a multi-block tank. So we will do some fluid inputs and stuff like that here in just a minute. But right now I just want the base, like the bare bones of the tank. We can start setting up that, but then we can set up a fluid intake, fluid outputs. We're going to do intertanks, and then we're going to start pumping fluids for the first time. I think this tank we're actually going to do as, I think, lava, probably. And I'm actually still debating about these blocks. I'm going to build out the structure, and then I can always, you know, I can always exchange the blocks out. Since we do have a conversion wand, I can exchange them for, you know, something or change them out. But I think that's the block I want to go with. I do tend to change my mind a lot, but we'll see. I mean, it's like 7 or 8 stacks of Tyrian, but that's okay. I'll end up using it somewhere if I don't use it here. So, okay, so what we're going to do, let's go ahead and actually start crafting out some tank blocks. And these are just crafted together like so. They're not terribly expensive at all. I'm going to go ahead and make a good... there's 43. Let's make it an even number. 44 tank blocks. And you can have up to 200 of these. Now, I think by default, it's a little bit less. Like, I want to say, at least the last time I used it, I think it was around... I want to say it was around 50, right? Because I think it was the same amount as the turbines. Because it's, you know, it's the same mod maker that does pressure pipes that does advanced generators. So I believe it was 50, but it can be changed in the configs. And so I think it was changed in this pack. But anyways, we'll go ahead and just start connecting these things up. And I'm just going to lay out a bunch of tanks. This is still overkill, the size of this. But a lot of it's for just decorative purposes, is the reason it's as big as it is. Now right here, I'm actually going to have this section kind of come out just slightly. And I'm thinking we'll have it come out... Let me actually pull up... we'll go ahead and just pull that up. And right here, I want to do... Let me get this out. I feel like I don't have enough hotbar space, you know? We're going to make ourselves, like... Let's go with, like, 6... And we're going to make ourselves, like, 6 tank indicator blocks for this section. And I'm actually just going to bring this down like that. And it'll come all the way down. That's fine. Is that how I want to do that? Or, no, I actually don't want it level with this layer. So maybe have it come out like right there instead. Yeah, I think that'll be better. And then I just need to bring this back. I have to connect it to the multi-block structure. So I'm just going to bring these tank blocks out and connect it to that. And then what we'll do is we'll do our tank controller, and I'm going to have this setting right here. And this basically forms it. You can see that these all connected together. The borders have been removed, and we can actually access this. So we have a little GUI here. This is for outputs. We'll get into that later. And then we can put in blocks, you know, and fill liquids and stuff like that. By the way, something worth noting, these interfaces here, you can pump like storage containers into them, or pump field storage containers into them. And you know, if it's a field storage container, it's going to pull the liquid out. They're actually kind of useful. I'm sure we'll use them at some point, but they're for actually kind of like automating the process of emptying and filling liquid containing items, which is quite nice. But we'll get into that stuff later. But right here we have basically just a control of the multi-block. So we can access everything with the multi-block and stuff from here. Okay, so what we're going to do then, I need to just go ahead and just throw down the rest of these tank blocks. So I'm just going to bring these out, I guess, like that. This sphere is a lot bigger than what it needs to be. It really is, but I think it's a little bit more of an accurate representation, though, of like fluid storage, like dense fluid storage, so. Because this thing's going to hold a ton of liquid. Now another thing, we're going to want the tank fluid filter set up. And I'm actually just going to put this setting... Oh, where do I want to put this? Maybe we'll pull this up and put the fluid filter right there, maybe. I think that'll be good. And there's one other thing that I need to craft, and that is the fluid filter configurator. I do need to make one of these, so green dye, glowstone, red dye, lapis or blue dye, some iron, and a bucket. So let me warp over. Let me go get that thing crafted, because we are going to need one of those. And I also need to get a bucket of lava, because this first tank is going to be for lava, I do believe. So let me pop over first and go get a bucket of lava, which should be easy enough to do, because right here I've got lava. Right inside the base, so that's not a problem. And then we'll pop over to the storage center and we'll get our dyes together. So it's blue, red, green, and glowstone. The nice thing is anything that I need smelted, I can just toss it right into here and it'll go get smelted. Right now it's kind of backed up because I was doing cobblestone. It looks like it's pulled all the cobblestone out and smelted it, but it's probably backed up on something. Okay, our cactus green is done, so we'll go ahead and get our configurator. This, if you watched all the mods, you know we use the configurator a bit to set, like basically for setting fluid filters is what it's for. Because of course in that pack we actually use the fluid pipes a bit. They're not my favorite fluid pipes. I mean, they're okay, But I absolutely love the multi-block tanks. They're just great. So we'll go ahead and pop back over here. I've still got to shape this up a little bit, but and I'm still debating about the block. Like, part of me likes it, and part of me doesn't. I don't know. I haven't completely decided yet. Come here. Okay, so we're going to take our fluid filter configurator, and we're just going to right-click, and I guess technically we didn't need a bucket of lava, but we're just going to select lava there, and it's kind of cool because it actually shows the liquid right there. So we can see at a glance, like, oh, that's lava, and then it's going to be like filled up through there as well. And we can go ahead and dump this bucket in here. Pow, there we go. You can see we have 1,000 millibuckets out of a possible 1,504,000 millibuckets of lava. So already we have a lot of liquid storage, and we've still got a long ways to go to fill this thing out. I think we've probably only filled it up like a fourth of the way. This would be about the size, I think, of a standard, pretty close to a standard tank. I'm going to go ahead and throw down like another 16, okay? Just because we can. And there, okay. So now if we take a look, another 16 of those, and now we can store a little over 2 million millibuckets of lava in this tank. I don't know, I'm really thinking I might change that. Maybe after, because at the back end of the episode we're going to do something that's going to make stone a little bit easier for us. But maybe, maybe laboratory blocks? Possibly? Because I feel like there's just too much going on this. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe a laboratory block, or I don't know. I'm going to give it some more thought. That's going to change. I don't really like that Tyria in there anymore. I thought I did, but I don't. So anyways, okay, so we got our tank set up. Now we're going to need to craft ourselves fluid inputs for this. And by the way, you can see right here, if you look just really, really closely, there's like a little orange line right there. So we do have a little bit of lava in there at the moment. But the next thing, the fluid inputs. We're going to need fluid inputs, and then of course we're going to need fluid outputs as well. The powered tank fluid outlet basically will auto output. If you don't use a powered one, you have to actually pull the liquids from it. Fluid interface, not terribly expensive. But with the powered ones, it will automatically output. I don't think that we necessarily need it because of what we're going to be using for the fluid output, but we'll get into that here in just a second. So, but anyways, the tank fluid outlet and the tank fluid intake, basically just a combination of tank walls, iron, pipe sealant, and fluid interfaces. So let's go ahead and craft ourselves up and go ahead and get like 16 of those. I don't need that many right now, but we will after, you know, as I set up more tanks and stuff. They're really not terribly expensive for how good of liquid storage they are. But we'll go ahead and get a tank fluid outlet, and we'll get a tank fluid intake as well. Just one of each for right now, that'll be fine. And we're going to go ahead, and actually before we set these up, let's actually pop over to the storage center, and I want to craft up 2, 4, yeah, we'll go with 4 Intertanks. So right here, cauldrons, which is just a bunch of iron, wool, obsidian, burnium. They're pretty standard. Let me get this stuff together real quick. I will have to go get a little bit of wool, because I've only got one piece of wool left. But luckily, our sheep did finally end up breeding, and you can see our cows did too. That was actually on their own. They finally just got around to eating the wheat and making lots of babies. So gathering wool is not a problem in the least at this point. Which we will end up automating wool, but honestly there's a bee that produces wool, so I don't know, we might do it that way. I'm not for sure. Alright, so now we're all set to make our 4 Intertanks. Done. Okay, so now that we've got those, I want to come up with a color, and actually let me get another clipboard, because we're going to have an Ender Tank clipboard, just like we have an Ender Chest clipboard. So let me get this together. Oh, and by the way, something that was brought up in the comments that I meant to make note of, which is pretty awesome. Right here, I never noticed this. There's actually a little tab right here, and you can click on it, and right there you can put your respirator in. So that way you don't have to take off the helmet that you're wearing. You can put your respirator in. You know, it's brought up in the comments for the last episode, and that is super handy. It really is, because I didn't realize that was there. But that way you can wear like my ashen goggles or whatever that you're wearing, and still have your respirator in for breathing, you know, the fog and stuff, which is quite useful. Okay, so another clipboard, and we'll go ahead and label this and get it together. We'll say Intertanks, and the first one is going to be lava, or we'll say lava storage. Lava storage is going to be red, white, white, and then we'll say lava out is going to be white, white, red. Okay, and that way we've pretty much got our intertank line set up. And then I'm just going to get a little red dye here. Okay, and then what we're going to do, we're going to make one other thing real quick. And that is, if you recall, forever ago, survival, pump it up. There was the pump from BC Factory that I said we would eventually get into. Well, now is eventually. And so I would like to go ahead and get that pump, because we are going to be pumping up lava, iron plates, piston, 2 BC Factory tanks, and a bucket. I'm going to dump a bunch of this tank stuff into here that I don't need, configurators, stuff like that. And I can put that stuff away for right now. Got to redo the tank a little bit. I don't know. I'm terrible about setting things up and then being like, I don't know if I really like that or not. And today is no different. Okay, so let's go ahead and get ourselves our pump. There's that. BC Factory pump, and da-da-ling. Quest complete, and that means that this tab is now 100%. So resource automation and survival are now done. Magical life, honestly, we could finish it without too much issue. And power up, we could probably finish without too much issue. So, anyways, let's go ahead. Let's pop right into here. And right over here, we're going to go ahead and set up a fluid intake. Once I deal with these guys. Fluid intake. And we're going to have this thing setting like right here. It can be just in the middle of this tank. It doesn't really matter. And then we're going to go ahead and set up an ender tank. And the nice thing is we have that fluid filter there. So if I accidentally connect up a tank and I haven't colored it or something like that yet, it doesn't matter because this tank can only accept lava. That's the purpose of the fluid filter. You don't necessarily have to have it, but it's nice, right? Because, you know, you don't... If you have an empty tank, of course this one has lava in it, so I mean, technically, you know, but it's still kind of nice to have, so. Oh, and it looks like you can do it through here without the configurator. Well, that's fine. We still have the configurator, it's still nice. I was thinking that you had to use the configurator for that. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and set this here, and we are going to fluid intake. We'll go ahead and set it to there. That should be auto output. That should be the output side. So it's going to automatically output into the fluid intake. And then what we're going to do, let's go ahead and actually color this too, because we need the red, white, white line. And then, let me go ahead and just set down the next tank and color that as well. And let's see, it's right in there. Yeah, we'll put the chunk loader inside of here as well. Might as well. And I'm going to go ahead and mark this. So this little area here is now chunk loaded. Alright, and now what we're going to do is, let's pop over, I don't know if I just want to go to Exoria or like go to the core. I know the core has a lot of basaltic magma, which I am probably going to set up a big tank for that as well because there's so much of it. And just because we can, honestly, would be my reasoning for that, but we will probably set up a big tank for that. Okay, now let me find a good size lava lake is what I'm after. Maybe... Ooh, that one looks promising. Yeah, I'm going to go over in this direction. I also need to find more waystones if I come across them. I need to actually spend a bit of time flying around this dimension. Now that we have flight and like super easy travel, that's all just coming down the hill. That's the worst thing. It's hard to tell because there's so much flowing lava around here. But I guess I could just go ahead and just set one of these up. Yeah, we'll just do that. Alright, so I brought some basalt with me to make this process a little bit easier. But what we're going to do is we're going to set down our pump right there. And it's going to drop its little thing. It's going to drop it down. And then we're going to connect up wooden engines around this. And this is like an old early game pipe pumping system. We're going to give each of these redstone. This was actually really commonly used in like 1.7 and 1.6 a lot. But once you have these engines pumping this, it's actually going to start pumping lava. It's not the fastest, but you can see that the internal tank is slightly filled up there. And what we're going to do is we're just going to take our Intertank and we're just going to throw this down right there. And it's going to start getting lava, and you can see it's immediately pulled out because it's going into our tank back in the Misty World. And this is going to take a little while to pump all of this up. I mean, you can see it's steadily draining there. That's the worst thing. There's not any really good sized lava lakes. I do remember finding some little caverns. I'll tell you what, let me go ahead and just throw down this weirding gadget. I recall finding some little ravines, or little caverns, you know, underground, that were actually pretty decent. So I may try to find some of those, because they seem to have quite a bit of lava. Oh, is there going to be a waystone here? Yes, there is. Haha. Okay, I'm going to steal this. I'm going to steal that indeed. And I'm going to fly around actually for a minute. I'll tell you what, though. This one right here, I'm going to go ahead and set it up at the pump spot. Then I'm going to fly around and see if I can find some more waystones, because I would like to have more. That's a decent little lava pool down there. That one's actually probably not too bad. There we go. Pump. And, oh, I've got one in my backpack too. I forgot about that. Well, actually, since we got the one in our backpack, let me go ahead and warp over back to the Misty World real quick. So we'll say B temp will be fine. And we're going to go ahead and put this waystone over by our fluid area. And I'm going to have to set up another one of these big tanks. I'm really not liking those blocks anymore. I'm just really against them. So I do think I'm going to change it, but I need more stone to change it. So we're going to fix that here in just a minute. But yeah, you can see the little bar up there is filling up. And look at that. We have 37 buckets now of lava in this. And it should automatically fill up. Yeah, see, there we go. We just got another bucket of lava. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but it's passive. And I can start building up lava. And then I'm going to need another tank for, you know, acid. Another one for honey, which will be... That's not going to need to be pumped up, you know. The only things that come to mind that will be pumping right now is acid, lava, and probably basaltic magma from down in the core. I am planning on pumping those up. The Misty World has some pretty decent sized acid pools as well down inside the mist. So we might use some of those, we'll see. But we're going to put down a waystone. This one is going to get moved, but we'll go ahead and put one down that's called Fluid Area. Okay, the name will change and stuff like that as well, but... now we actually have a nice tank system. I mean, that's going to store a lot, and I've probably, like I said, I think altogether it's probably going to store, actually, give me just a second here and I can tell you exactly how much it's going to store. Yeah, it can, at maximum capacity, this thing will be able to store 6.4 million millibuckets. So, I mean, that's pretty decent storage. I mean, granted, there's more compact ways to do this, but I don't want compact. I want, you know, these nice big tanks setting out here with a different block. That block, I regret doing that. For some reason I was thinking it would look good, but I hate it. Absolutely hate it. But we're going to, like I said, I've got to get more stone to change it. So, but anyways, we've got lava coming in, and I can just periodically, I can pop over to the pump area, and then I can move this waystone as we change pump locations so that it's always easy to reach. Look at that. This already needs to be moved. So... let's go ahead. Now lava, I will say that lava, this is just a temporary thing. I mean, pumping lava is a very, very temporary fix, because before long, of course, there's lava fabricators within the pack from Actually Editions. And I think, yeah, the lava fabricator from Industrial Foregoing is here as well. And it's Lava Factory, but same thing. There's those, but then we can also produce lava. Like if you take a look here, the item liquefier also makes lava. From cobblestone, which is a pretty easy method. But there is also the squeezer, phosphor and cobblestone together, 1600 millibuckets, you know, per. So, I mean, that's quite a bit. Also, you can do it that way, but then there is also phosphor. That's not that great, in truth. Magma crucible as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that we can make lava. So, I mean, this is just a temporary fix, but as time goes on, you know, we'll use other methods for lava and not actually have to pump it anymore. But for right now, pumping is fine. And I guess really I don't need the marker there if I'm using waystones. You know, I can just shift the waystone and it's that easy, and then we'll just call it pump. And done, and there we go. Just got to make sure and activate it. That's the only thing, because If I don't activate it and I don't leave a mark, it's going to be fun to find. But water, there's not really a whole lot of reason to pump it because we're going to have aqueous accumulators and infinite water sources. So it's really not terribly useful to pump that. Okay, so let's pop back over to the fluid area. I'm going to go waystone exploring here fairly soon. How much do we have? 74 buckets of lava and counting. Okay, so the fluid outlet, we'll go ahead and set this up. We can just put this right here. And then we can set ourselves up an ender tank setting right there. And then dye white, white, red is going to be our color. And then we'll go ahead and just flip this and it should... Actually, that's not going to auto pull, is it? That'll automatically output, but it's not going to automatically pull liquid. Okay, so do I want to go with a powered pump? Or do I want to go with just a fluid pipe? I'll tell you what, we'll just go ahead and go with a powered fluid output because it's cheap. Honestly, it's hard to say no to it or come up with a reason not to because it is extremely cheap. All we got to do is take our fluid outlet, give it a piston, and there we go, powered tank fluid output. Drop that down right there, and then we can attach our white, white, red ender chest right there, and it will just fill it up. Pow. And then if I want to, you know, expand and put lava elsewhere, you know, I've got, I'm going to have this just, for right now, I'm just going to have it in the storage building, so we have, you know, we could set these up anywhere that we're using lava, whether they be automatic or manual or whatever, and we'll always have lava. And there we go, 103,000 millibuckets at the moment. And you can see right here, there is a red output that connects to ender chest, which is actually an ender tank, but it flags as an ender chest. It tells you where it connects to. And right here you can say always on, enable on redstone, disable on redstone, disable it, and you can manage it from here, which is really a really nice feature. And you can have up to 6 of these outputs right here, and you can have up to 10 different inputs for lava, which will probably still always just have the one input, you know. But if I want to do different outputs or something, you know, maybe I want to use a white, red, white ender chest or ender tank that connects to something, I can do that if I want to. But then what I can do is I can pop over to the storage center. Just for right now, this may end up actually going into the workshop. I don't know. But I can toss down, you know, an ender tank right there, and there we go. We've always got lava on hand for whatever we may need it for. So probably will end up going to the workshop. But for right now, I do a lot of crafting and work over here, like so much work over here, that it would be nice to have, you know, a liquid tank. And I may actually set up a tank here and a tank in the workshop. I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. And that's pretty much the liquid system that I have in mind. I'm planning on actually doing, like I said, a bunch of those, and they're all going to be identical. Like I said, I am planning on changing the block over. We'll actually probably do that in the next episode. It'll be, you know, in the building episode, since those are more for building purposes. And we're working on the bridge, but I'm probably not going to have the materials to finish all of the bridge, so we'll probably switch over and change this whole thing up a little bit. You know, add the pillars, add the, you know, the detail work and stuff like that, because they're actually fairly simple. I wanted to keep them kind of simple because I am planning on having quite a few of these tanks, but I think they're going to look pretty cool once they're once it's a better block. Actually, the more I look at that Tyrian block, the more I hate it, so I do apologize that I decided to go with that. I don't know what I was thinking. 136, 137 millibuckets. That's not bad. It's not bad. And it's a whole lot easier to get lava now than it was. So, okay, now the next thing that I want to do this episode, and this is something that's just going to make our lives a whole lot easier. First up, I want to make a block of, whoops, I need to throw it in here. I want to melt up a little bit of this tin, just enough for a block. And I want to make a machine frame for starters. And I'm probably not going to need any more coal, I don't think. I think one piece of coal should make a block. Okay, I should have everything that I need now. I've got a bunch more iron plates crafting up because they'll be useful. But I'm going to craft up a machine frame. And then here in a second, we're actually going to craft up another machine frame. I've actually got the stuff for 2 of them on me. But first up, I just want 1 machine frame. Okay, everything's ready. I just need another block of tin for the next machine frame. But this first one, I want to go ahead and just break this down, and we're going to get 2 device frames from it. And the first thing that I want to make is, and this is to make our lives a whole lot easier, I want to make a Factorizeer. So this right here, an iron gear, and then with the other device frame, I want to make an aqueous accumulator. This right here, which is, okay, 2 more iron gears. That's fine. I've noticed the machines, in this pack, the machines that use the device frames are pretty cheap in comparison to the ones that use like an actual machine frame. So we'll go ahead and get that going. And since I'm over here, I'm going to go ahead and throw this in there because it needs to be charging up. I try to keep it in there and keep it charged, but oh yeah, I've got to actually toss... I'm going to toss those onto there. The hopper won't output them. That's why normally I have this space back a little bit more, but this is fine, you know, for the time being. It's a good temporary fix, and we're going to fix it up a little bit nicer soon enough. Then we're also going to need a couple of these redstone servos, a couple pieces of redstone, and some iron. Not terribly expensive. These machines really aren't bad, and they do help you out a ton. So there's 2 of those. Then 2 pieces of glass, 2 buckets, which I'm going to have to make up more buckets soon. I've got 1 left in the backpack, but that's not too bad. Oops. Aqueous accumulator, there's that. And then we are also going to want that Factorizeer, which we actually have a quest regarding this Factorizeer. Lead and accepts any workbench. Okay. I don't know if that means that it accepts any kind of crafting table. We're about to find out, but there's just a standard crafting table. We'll find out. So, okay, yeah, Factorizeer. There we go. And there, like I said, there was a quest for that under tech progression, Factorizeer. Okay, so the only thing we don't have is the compactor. Then they want us to make 3 machine frames and have them all on hand at the same time, but we'll do that. We can't really have too many machine frames, so I'm not too worried about that. But okay, so the Factorizeer. This machine, let me go ahead and actually grab 9 pieces of tin. And our Factorizeer, we're going to set this up. I don't know if I want to put it down here or upstairs. I don't know. This building still has to be worked out where everything's going to go and stuff. So for right now, I'm just going to put it right here. This thing doesn't require any kind of power or anything like that. I'm going to go ahead and clear the configurations. We don't need those. But if we were to take like 10 and we throw this into there, bam, there's a block of 10. It's that easy. Okay, and you have combined, split. Like split, if I put a block in there, pow, there's 9, 10 ingots. So, and it's, you know, it's powerless, it's free. All the stuff that comes from the, you know, the device frames that don't actually need power. Like if you take a look at the aqueous accumulator, you throw this down, it just takes water. You know, it doesn't actually use any power or anything. Okay, so now that we've got that, realistically, I could have made the other block of 10 when I was making the first one, but I figured it'll give us a use, you know, an actual chance to use the Factorizeer this episode. So we'll go ahead and whip up 1 more machine frame. And this one we're not going to split into a device frame. We're actually going to leave this as a machine frame. Okay, and it's starting to rain. I'm going to go ahead and sleep. Monsters nearby. Okay. Well, that's fine. I don't actually have to be here right this second. Let's warp over to the workshop on the other planet, which is, it's steadily being torn down. Bit by bit. It's steadily going away. Okay, I just want a couple buckets of water. Oh yeah, these won't collect with stacked buckets for whatever reason. So there's those, and then let's warp back over to the storage center. And this aqueous accumulator, we're going to go ahead and upgrade this because we're just going to make ourselves an infinite water source. Because they're super cheap within this pack, and that way I don't have to actually build out a bunch of water beneath it, and it's going to produce water fast enough for our needs, in truth. Or it should, you know, it'll be plenty fast for us. So infinite water source, there we go. And then with our machine frame, we're going to go ahead and craft ourselves an Igneous Extruder. This right here. So a couple Invar ingots, which we've got those now. 2 copper gears and a redstone reception coil. So let me see. Oh, and I've noticed for whatever reason, I don't know if it has to do with the Misty World. I think it does. I think it's actually not registering the Misty World as raining. I've actually got this turned off right now, but let's say, let me pull this up. It does dispense the sunflowers, like, there we go. Well, let me actually pull this off for just a minute here. If I do this, it tosses the sunflower and that eats it, but it still continues to rain. So the Terra Bozu does not work here. But so I can't actually stop the rain with the Terra Bozu. So I've got this turned off right now. That was another thing I meant to mention, but I forgot about it. Because it's been raining while I build, and I can't. I don't know, building this bridge, I kind of wanted to turn it off when it rains, but I don't have any control over that, sadly. Because it's still, like, it detects the rain. It says, like, the Terra Bozu says it's raining, but it doesn't actually stop the rain. I don't know, it's bizarre. I've never ran into that before, but just a heads up. So, it is working, it's just not working. If that makes sense. Like, the setup is working, so, you know, maybe if you live somewhere where it does register correctly, then that might be okay. Okay, so there is our Igneous Extruder. Dun, dun, dun. And then in addition, I would like to go ahead, just because this stuff isn't set up in like a permanent setup, basically, I want to go ahead and just whip up 2 ender chests. And we're going to make kind of like a little separate line. It's not going to be in the clipboard as anything, but I just want 2 ender chests. And then like a random dye color, and I guess I'm going to go with like yellow. Something that we're not currently using. So dandelion yellow will be fine. There we go. Okay, so what I want to do is, let me actually grab, let me pop up here, let me grab a bucket of this lava. And you may have an idea of what I'm doing. This first ender chest, we're actually going to set this one up just right over here. Will be fine. I might actually use it portably as well on a few occasions, but we're going to say white, yellow, white is going to be the color. And then let's pop over. Eventually this is actually going to plug into our drawer system, but for right now, I don't want to do that just yet. So, because there's some things I'm waiting on for that. And then right up here, we're going to go ahead and set up the Igneous Extruder setting. Right here will be fine. So Igneous Extruder right there. We'll go ahead and plug up some power to this, because it is going to require some power. And then connect that up and over. And then let's go ahead and clear this. And you can see right here we can set it to basalt, cobblestone, smooth stone, obsidian, granite, diorite, andesite, and then back to basalt. Let's see, smooth stone in the Igneous Extruder, 1,000 millibuckets of water, 0 millibuckets of lava. Okay, it just consumes water, but it does show some lava there. That's because you need at least 1 bucket of lava in there, and then it's going to take, you know, a bucket of water per smooth stone. In the case of cobblestone, though, for example, if you take a look at cobblestone, it's going to be 0, 0. This hasn't changed. They've improved the UI for this by a lot. So that's what that means. And if you take a look at, say, like basalt, and it is 1,000 millibuckets of water, 250 millibuckets of lava makes basalt. Granite and diorite and andesite, all that stuff, you can craft it in here. Water, and you basically just select it. Okay, so depending on what you select in this, it does change it, because now, you know, there used to be that upgrade that you would put into the Igneous Extruder, there was the ones to actually be able to make the andesite, the diorite. Those have been removed, and now you just select it. I actually quite like it a lot more now. It's a little bit better. You know, you don't have to waste an augment slot and all that stuff. Of course, right now we don't have any augment slots, but we'll get into those later. But anyways, we're going to set it to smooth stone, and we're going to say configuration left side is going to be fluid intake, and we're going to put our infinite water source down right there. It's not going to pull, is it? That's too bad. We're actually going to have to set up a tank, and we'll set up our BC factory tank like right there. Once again, this is all very temporary. Very, very temporary. And we'll plug that in right there. Lever setting right there. And infinite water source setting. Nope. Maybe, I tell you what, it probably just won't auto output. So if we put this right here. There we go. There we go. So we got plenty of water. Okay. There is another infinite water source. I don't think it's the pressure pipes one, but there is another one that auto outputs to tanks around it. And it's actually called infinite water source. So I think that's what I'm thinking of. Yes. Because there is one that will auto output to tanks and stuff around it. And then we're just going to take our bucket of lava, dump it right in there, and there we go. We're going to start crafting smooth stone. And it's decently fast. You can see the progress right here. It is consuming 20 RF per tick, but that's fine. It's definitely worth it, I think. I don't know if it's actually going to drain this, because, I mean, all these machines and stuff over here aren't running consistently, or like all the time. It's not draining this one. It might be draining one of the other capacitors, but then again, that's actually plugged up to every windmill that we have, like all 6 of them. So I think it should be fine. I think so. And then we're going to go ahead and say that we're going to go ahead and do auto outputs enabled. We're going to say the top side is output. And we're going to go ahead and sit down our ender chest. We're going to set white, yellow, white. And we're just going to put that right there. So it's going to automatically output the smooth stone to that ender chest. And the reason I'm not going to have it going straight into the input line, this is a temporary setup. This should be gone, hopefully, in the semi-near future. And, you know, put somewhere else and a little bit nicer. But also because I don't want to have to put a void upgrade in our smooth stone. And I don't want it to back up and fill up on me. So instead, for right now, we'll have, you know, a temporary ender chest line sitting here that's filled up with smooth stone. Then I can pull this out. I can dump it into there if I so desire and fill that up. But at least now we have smooth stone coming in and not having to, because cobblestone, I've got 3 stacks left. Okay, and then I'm going to have to go out and farm more cobblestone, which isn't terribly fun in this pack. Like with a cobblestone generator, so I'd rather do it, you know, do it this way. We've got 3 stacks of smooth stone, but like I said, I just smelted some up. I actually only had, I think, 16 smooth stone before I started smelting up cobblestone. So, and I don't really want to use up all my cobblestone either, and I don't really want to have to farm cobblestone either. So anyways, I know it's about wrapping up point for this episode, so I am going to end this one out here. The fluid pipe system, let me see, can I sleep now? Yes, I can sleep now. The fluid pipe system, or the fluid system, we are going to expand on that. Like I said, we're going to add acid tanks, and basaltic magma tanks, and honey tanks, and lots of tanks as time goes on. And then we'll also probably have like smaller little fluid storage area for things like, I don't know, maybe we'll probably get into the bennies stuff, and so maybe we'll want like a small tank of white wine and red wine and sparkling wine and you know, all this different stuff. We've got tons of bennies, liquids. DNA we're probably going to store in a big tank, but I mean there's a bunch of different liquids here. Some of them we're going to store in big tanks, some of them we'll probably have like a smaller fluid storage area. You know, just getting started. This looks not great. We're going to clean this up, I promise, in the next episode. And it may actually be cleaned up by the time this episode comes out. I don't know. We'll see as time goes on. This actually has lava. Yeah, it just wasn't rendering. 152,000 millibuckets. Not too bad. I probably need to move the pump over right now, but I'll do that here in just a second. But that's basically the system. I mean, that's the only one I'm going to set up on camera, and then I'll just, you know, set up additional ones. This is going to end up, this little structure is going to be kind of like our windmills. So we'll probably do like one in the next, you know, working on it in the next episode, cleaning it up. But then after that, it's just going to be basically the same design, just pop, 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 pop around wherever they end up going for the big tanks. And then we'll have like a smaller, actual little fluid storage building, okay, for things that we don't need a massive amount of. Of course, refined storage does add its own fluid storage, but I feel like having like a nice tank, an actual tank in the world, is a little bit cooler than just having a data disk, you know. And there actually might be quantum tanks in this pack. That's a possibility as well. No. But, yeah, so the next episode, like I said, it's a build episode. We're going to be working on the bridge, and we'll probably then switch over a little bit later and work on this. Hi, what do we got here? Invisibility 1. Okay, that takes 11 player levels. Sure, we're going to go ahead and equip that. Well, I don't know, because we'll actually be invisible. I'm going to wait to equip that. Because if I recall, it actually makes you invisible on your screen too, I think. I feel like I ran into that one on Sprout, I think. But I know it makes it less, you're less detectable by mobs too, so. I don't know, I'll equip it, and then if it becomes an issue, I might whip up a, one of the little skill jars and put it away, but. Yeah, our armor is still visible, but we are invisible inside of it. So you can actually see in the sides there, like, where my stomach would be, the side of my stomach, that I can see through it and see the backpack behind me, the little red backpack. So, it's pretty nifty. I actually quite like it. But anyways, I know it's about wrapping up point for this episode. Like I said, next episode it's going to be pretty much just a building, working on the bridge, and we'll be working on this little fluid structure, and then maybe even starting the Embers building. I don't know for sure. Probably not, but who knows? I can't make any promises either way. So, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you guys have any questions, as always, be sure and let me know down in the comments, and I'll do my best to get those answered for you. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to see you guys next time. Also, this episode is... I know it's only been 5 episodes since our last world upload. I am going to do an episode, or a world upload... Actually, I'll tell you what, I'm going to wait till the next episode. It's going to be episode 21. I was thinking about doing it this episode, but we're kind of in the middle of building up the bridge. So I think it would be a little bit better for you guys if we had the bridge done and maybe the fluid tanks done. I think it'd be a little bit nicer of an episode to do a world upload. So, because like I said, I wanted to do another world upload since we've been doing the item sorting system and stuff like that, so you guys can, you know, get a hands-on of that. Plus, the base has kind of expanded in the last 5 episodes quite a bit. So yeah, next episode will be a world upload instead of this episode. So that way, you guys will have the bridge as it may not be done, but it'll be a little bit more done than what we've got at the moment. Plus, the fluid tank should be done by then and everything. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope to see you guys next time. Until then, as always, do take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys then. Okay, it's actually been a couple hours since I quote-unquote ended the episode, but I wanted to bring you guys back real quick because I was actually editing footage and letting stone build up and stuff like that. And I got the stuff together and I crafted out and built out the tank kind of how I want it, a little bit more like I want it. And I was reviewing the footage and it was like, man, that tank was just so bad looking. Of course, it wasn't done, granted, but I didn't like the block at all. So I got this changed over and I actually went with laboratory blocks. It was a little bit of stone, a fair amount, and a fair amount of nether quartz, but not too bad. Especially now that we have stone, you know, automatically coming in. But it actually didn't take that long. I basically just went through with the conversion one, changed all the blocks. The only blocks that may still be Tyrian are at the very bottom. I didn't worry about those because you can't see them, so there might still be Tyrian at the very bottom. But I just did the conversion wand around it, changed it over to laboratory blocks, they're tile blocks. And then factory blocks, of course I have a ton of factory blocks on me. And I changed that over to factory blocks because we're actually using these a lot within the build, and I actually quite like them with this build. So factory blocks is kind of like the bracing and the pillars. It's not completely done, but I think it looks a little bit better than it did, you know, around it. Not just the pillars, but I think the blocks, the tile blocks there, look a lot better than that Tyrian. The Tyrian just felt too busy. For this just being like a tank that's just kind of sitting there, I didn't want it feeling that busy. It just felt way too busy with all those like lines and stuff going around it. And these pillars kind of come down. They have like little supports down here at the bottom, which I think look pretty nice. And then if we pop around to the side here, I've done a little bit more intricate work on this because this is like the very front, the front center. And right over here I've actually got, this is a visual bug, there is lava in here, 261,000 millibuckets at the moment. I have been running the pump. And I remember the lava lake, the big lava lake that I had found was actually in that second dimension. The Exoria underground, if you recall, there was that big lava lake, which was right over near where we set up the bore. These are the open blocks tanks. So I mean, you can see they're completely modular like these tanks, Each one, I want to say each one stores 16 buckets. You can see that I actually put a fair amount of lava in here because I wanted to fill these up. So I did use, what, probably 128 buckets of lava between the two of these. But I do think it looks a little bit better, and then like I said, we're going to label it maybe up there at the top or something. I don't know, the braces kind of take up the space, but I'm going to put a label somewhere up there. Maybe, I don't know, this might actually be enough labeling. Just like, this is lava, here's the liquid sitting right here. I don't know, I may do a label up there though somewhere. Also, this floor around it, the ground is going to be changed. I don't know if I'm going to go with like a concrete or something, but I want it to feel a little bit more industrial than just sitting on sand. So that's going to change as well. And then I'm probably going to do something there at the top. I was actually thinking about making stairs to where you can actually go up to the top of it and access it. The reference picture that I have, like for the NASA one is a little bit different. I will say this is just kind of a based upon that design, like that spherical tank. And I actually quite love the sphere tank design. I've been wanting a pack where I needed like big modular tanks just so I could do, you know, some spherical tanks for this. I think I like this a bit more, like the blocks and stuff, and then this, it just kind of comes out, so that way we kind of have like a front, kind of breaks away from the sphere, and like a front section comes out. And then, you know, I may end up putting other stuff out here too, like other I'll probably end up doing like one of the, you know, the access ports so I can drop liquid items in, or buckets or whatever. But we'll see. I mean, the front may change a little bit, but this is just, I just want to bring you guys back to show you that it's not just a sphere sitting in the middle of the desert. There's a little bit more to it, and it's not those like super busy Tyrian blocks with the lines. They were driving me absolutely insane. They really were. So but anyways, I think that looks a little bit better. I was thinking at first about bringing the bracing up to the top, but I don't really think there's much point in that. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to bring the bracing up. So it pretty much just goes over the side, and then it kind of like, I got those slants there, kind of like it's bolting in. So right now I don't have a way to actually enter the inside properly. I'm still debating about how I want to do that. I mean, there's a couple different options that we could go with. If we even do a door entering the inside, I don't know for sure. I haven't decided. But anyways, I mean, it's still a bit in the works, but I just want to bring you guys back and show you an updated version of it. So anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.